Now, I know a lot of y'all want to know what I thought about the Batman. It's time to talk about it. Let's go. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Klepcx FM, brought to you by WeAreCritics.com, a place where we talk about movies, television, and pop culture. And if you're into that kind of thing, make sure you hit the subscribe key and that notification bell so you can be up to speed about everything that I talk about here. Now, I was lucky enough to attend the IMAX fan screening of the Batman tonight, and I'm here to talk about what I thought about this film. Now, before I talk about what I thought about it in a non-spoilerish way, let me tell you what the Batman is. Now, the Batman is Warner Brothers' new iteration of this popular character from DC Comics, Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, Jeffrey Wright, Paul Dano. Um, who else is in this? I can't remember. Zoe Kravitz is in this, and Colin Farrell is in this as well. Directed by Matt Reeves, great director, great storyteller, and it is his turn to now take over the cowl and give us something different, so to speak. So, without further ado, I'm gonna try my best not to spoil this thing because I feel like I might be in spoiler realm, but not spoiling the actual overall plot or details that happen in this film. I'm gonna be honest and brutal with you guys. This movie was a little bit too long for me. Too long for a Batman story. Too long overall. And there are really, really great moments in this film, but a lot of them get hindered for me because of the length of the film. Now, that's not saying that this is not a good Batman movie. It's a great Batman movie. I had a great time. I thought all the actors nailed it. Pattinson is great as Batman, even better as Bruce Wayne. I felt the real trauma and tragedy in his life through his eyes, through his mannerisms, through his character. I thought that he brought a different type of Bruce Wayne, or more of a younger, different type of Bruce Wayne than we've seen in the past. And I thought that Colin Farrell was the MVP of this film. I thought that his character stood out. But for me, it was a little bit too long. I found myself at some points looking at my watch. I never do that when I go to the movies. I never do that when I'm watching a comic book movie. But for some reason, for this one, I was fiddling in my chair and checking my watch, just trying to kind of gauge, just about how far into this film we were. There's a lot of things about this film that kind of rub me the wrong way. Even though there are things that I love, there are some things that rub me the wrong way. For instance, there are a lot of things in this film that are not fresh takes. And what I mean by that is the Selena Kyle and Batman stuff feels very reminiscent to what we've already seen throughout the cartoons and throughout movies like Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Keaton. So that little play, that cat and mouse game, no pun intended, that they play with one another, yeah, it's there. It's the same thing that we've already seen. So watching that kind of felt like, okay, we're just going through the motions. A lot of this film kind of feels like Reeves is checking off boxes. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's so long, and then there's a lot of Batman stuff in this thing that they want to show. So they figured, okay, we got to get that in there. We got to get the Batmobile. We got to get Batman crashing through the glass in the ceiling. We got to get, like, a lot of it feels real box checky. Like, they're just checking off the things. Because the movie's so long, they got to fill it with something, right? So Reeves gives us literally every cool Batman aspect that you could ever have seen already in past Batman films. And then he throws it in this one. So there's not a lot of room for fresh takes. Just long movie. That's literally the only difference that I felt with this movie, was that the only difference between this Batman and other Batmans was its runtime. Its pace, I should say. The pace is longer, slower, I should say. The pace is shorter. The movie is longer. But other than that, you're getting the typical Batman stuff that you always see in every other Batman movie. Paul Dano is the Riddler. My favorite villain is the Riddler. Not Paul Dano's Riddler, but the Riddler. He's my favorite comic book villain, especially in the DC universe. I'm not gonna lie, he's really spooky. He does his thing. He's really creepy. He's very Zodiac, very serial killerish. But there are some beats in his performance that are very reminiscent to the Joker in The Dark Knight. If you see the movie, you understand what I'm talking about. There are some scenes that he kind of does via camera that kind of reminiscence of that moment when Heath Ledger is being Joker on camera. You'll know what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil things, but you guys will understand what I'm saying. But there is a lot of beats that are reminiscent to that. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, phenomenal. He is by far the best character in this movie, and that is because he is unrecognizable and he just lives this character. Like, literally, he feels like he's been casted as, like, that person has been casted as the Penguin. Like, that's not Colin Farrell. That is another actor portraying Colin Farrell, portraying Penguin. I thought he was brilliant, and this talks about him getting a spinoff. I feel like it's too soon for that because we're just barely peeling the onion of that character in this movie. That I think if they do a sequel, I'm there. Like, it's good enough for me to say, hey, I'll come back to it. But overall, I thought that this movie needed a little bit of work. It still does its thing, but I felt like it needed a little work. Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman. Dope. She does her thing. Did she need to be there? I kept questioning myself, going back and forth. I don't really feel like she needed to be in this film, period. But it was, I mean, she served a narrative purpose being there. It worked well with the story they were trying to tell. They did change a little thing about her background that kind of caught me off guard, but you guys will see that in the film. And but it didn't bother me that much. It wasn't the end of the world type shit. The one thing about this film that I really, really enjoy, and this kind of makes up for the length of the film, is that badass score. That score gets played so throughout that that's the one thing that got me through this lengthy ass movie, was listening to that score over and over and over. Because it's really good. It's really, really good. I love that score. Since I heard the trailer for the first time, that was what drew me to this movie. I was like, yo, that score is badass. It's very, like, you know, post-apocalyptic and very, like, dark. It reminds me of, like, Escape from New York or, like, They Live. Like, it has that kind of energy to it. But overall, guys, I mean, would I go see this movie again? Probably not. Only because, like I said, it's just too long for me. It feels long. Most movies are long, like Endgame, long. No Way Home, long. But this movie felt long. And I felt like the length of the film is what hinders the great stuff about it. Because there's some really good stuff in it. Some really great Batman stuff. And that was another thing. It's kind of a spoiler. I don't want to spoil. So, guys, if you don't want to hear this, please come back and talk with me, but I'm going to say this one thing. This movie is a Batman movie. There is not a lot of Bruce Wayne in this movie. There's a little bit of Bruce Wayne in this movie, and necessary Bruce Wayne in this movie, but for the most part, you get a lot of Battinson throughout this movie. A lot. Like, he's in every scene, for the most part. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I missed. I mean, Andy Serkis does his thing. He's a great Alfred. A little underused. But overall, everyone served their purpose and did their job. Like, John Turturro, like him as Falcone, like, everybody was awesome as actors. It's just, I feel like the length of the movie is what really takes away from this. Everything else is spot on, a great Batman film. But I will leave you guys with this. This film is not, in my opinion, is not better than The Dark Knight. I will say it. I'm saying it right now. It's a great film. It's a great Batman film. It's very movie. Reeves made a movie. If anything, go into this thing and watch a movie, because that's what this is. Not a comic book movie. It's not a Batman movie. It literally feels like just a straight up story being told about a superhero vigilante, and it's lengthy, guys. Very lengthy. Make sure you take a nap before you go see this film. And that's all I gotta say about this, guys. I mean, let me know. Are you guys excited to see Batman this weekend? The Batman, sorry. Starring Robert Pattinson, directed by Matt Reeves. I think that this will be a Batman that a lot of people are going to be talking about. Pattinson knocks it out the park. He's a brilliant Batman, brilliant Bruce Wayne. Just this particular story for me, just a little lengthy, but I'm interested in seeing more. If they did a sequel and they announced it tomorrow, I'm definitely copping that ticket as soon as it drops. So guys, let me know what you thought about the Batman. Excuse me, or if you're going to go check out the Batman, or if you're not going to check out the Batman. Love to know what you guys thought about it. Drop a comment below, like, share, subscribe, and for more movie news, television news, pop culture, guys, check out WeAreCritics.com, and I will talk to you all later. Peace.